You know, if he goes, well, day to day we go to the park. Or what is his day-to-day routine? Because you're talking about a certain routine, okay? So you know the difference, right? Y'all know the difference, okay? And then stacking conflicts, you know, where you put the understand with the D and it has whatever stroke and then D. So you want it to come out as suffix understand or understand suffix, okay? Which really it should be the other way around because, well, they set it up as a conflict. Where it would be, I guess their stroke for in would be IN, I don't know, and their stroke for understand is IN too. So if you stroke them together.
UNB versus INB.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That would be an IND, which to me is something totally different, but whatever. But I mean, if that's the way you write it, then that's how they're showing you that it can be a conflict.
Here's an important tip concerning Eclipse Artificial Intelligence. It only learns new rules when you place your cursor on a conflict and pick the correct choice. If instead you just place your cursor on a conflict and just type new text, Eclipse learns nothing. In other words, Eclipse can learn when you pick a conflict, but not when you type over it.
Understand that? So if you just type it in, it's not learning anything. It learned absolutely nothing that you just did. Now there are times that you need to just type stuff in, okay? So, you know, don't think that you need to choose something every time because it's learning every time you choose something.
Also, you should make your first conflict choice the more likely one. Then in the translate section of your user settings, you'll be able to ask Eclipse to pick the first choice when it otherwise would not know how to resolve a conflict. Sometimes a conflict will occur in an exceptional context, and you'll want to pick a conflict choice but not teach a context rule. If so, just hold down the Shift key and press the conflict choice number. That will take care of the exception without affecting what the artificial intelligence has learned. Much more could be said about conflicts.
Did y'all understand that? I mean, no? It's not really that big of a deal. I mean, you know, if you don't want it to learn something, then it just tells you do the Shift key. But I mean, I don't use it, but
the conflict choice number, that will take care of the exception without affecting what the artificial intelligence are in an exceptional context. And you'll want to pick a conflict choice but not teach a context rule. If so, just hold down the Shift key and press the conflict choice number. That will take care of the exception without affecting what the artificial intelligence has learned.
You see what it's telling you? So if you don't need to do it, then, but, I mean, all you have to do is do A here. Y'all know what A is, right?
Yeah, that's to capitalize.
Or,
Oh, I thought it was to capitalize.
or,
I didn't know that.
uncapitalize.
Oh,
So it's a toggle,
oh.
okay? It toggles it. So it'll cap it or uncap it, okay?
Much more could be said about conflicts, but this is the subject of a separate in-depth ePower video tutorial that includes a conflicts kit with dictionaries that contain hundreds of entries that have already learned how to resolve beautifully. So this is a great way to take full advantage of Eclipse translation magic.
Any questions about that? Pretty easy, straightforward, not that big of a deal.
So the way you have to capitalize T for table 12, is it the same for anything else like desk 9?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, you want to use it on stuff that you're probably going to see pretty often. Like desk 9, I mean, you're probably not gonna use it that often, but, I mean, if you wanna put it in your dictionary, that's the way you need to do it, okay? But it's for anything, like, proposition. Proposition 9. Well, you know you're talking about a certain proposition. But if they say, well, you know, the proposition of blah, 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 blah is on the floor right now, and they're talking about it, whatever. Okay? But if they're saying, well, we need, you know, proposition 9, then. Does that make sense? Jess?
Yes.
Oh.
Let's see how to define slop strokes for speaker and conflict entries in your dictionary. Here's an untranslate. This steno is not defined as an untranslate. This steno is not defined in my dictionary. I was trying to write the steno NUBS. Instead, I wrote NUBZ. I could define this as a new conflict in my dictionary, but this conflict would have to begin learning context rules from scratch. In other words, I'd like my new conflict to resolve as well as the older conflict that's been in my dictionary for a while. Here's how to define a slop stroke.
Do you understand that? No?
That was confusing.
Instead, I wrote NUBZ, translate. This steno is not defined dictionary. Here's an untranslate. This steno is not defined in my dictionary. I was trying to write the steno NUBS. Instead, I wrote NUBZ. I could define this as a new conflict in my dictionary, but this conflict would have to begin learning context rules from scratch. In other words, I'd like my new conflict to resolve as well as the older conflict that's been in my dictionary for a while. Here's how to define.
Why?
I don't know. I
That
mean,
seems so redundant.
it is kind of, it is. But I mean, I would put it in my dictionary. I would,
I mean, I would.
the same
I
way.
would define
Because if
the
you
stroke-
stroked it once, you're probably gonna do it again.
So just define it, because that's
Yeah.
what, I mean, I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but that's what I do. Even if I write it wrong all the time, but I know I'm dragging something, and it happens forever, all
Yeah.
the time, no matter how many times I try not to.
As long as it doesn't conflict with something else, put it in your dictionary. Because if you've done it once, more than likely you're gonna do it again, okay? But you wanna be careful that it doesn't conflict with something else, okay?
Define a slop stroke. At the Globaling dialog, you can press Ctrl-E to open the special entries list. Then press the End key. Slop stroke is at the end of the list. When the steno entry dialog opens, use your computer keyboard to type the letters of the steno that you were trying to write. In other words, the steno that belongs to your master stroke, and press Enter or OK. This will go in my main dictionary. When I pick conflict choice 1 here, if this is a new context rule that Eclipse did not know before, it will be added to the artificial intelligence for the conflict entry that is my master entry. So slop strokes point to your master entry. Slop stroke entries.
Huh? Do what?
Can you back that up one more time, please?
It's just telling you that it's a slop stroke and that it needs to go back to NUBZ. Okay?
Yes?
Huh?
Okay.
Let me play it again. It's just telling you to go back to it so that it knows to use the NUBS instead of the NUBZ rules
But it's saying that.
on
it-
fixing it, on conflicts. Do what?
But what I don't understand is, he's saying that it's still gonna revert back to your conflict numbers versus number, or was it NO, but however he set it up. And that it's gonna record under the artificial intelligence already
In there.
as NUB,
Yeah.
right?
Which, I mean, I don't know that it matters,
Okay.
you know, because it doesn't matter whether it goes in the NUBS or the NUBZ, but, I mean, I'll play it again.
Key. Slop stroke is at the end of the list. Find a slop stroke at the Globaling dialog, resolved as well as the older conflict that's been in my dictionary for a while. Here's how to define a slop stroke. At the Globaling dialog, You can press Control E to open the Special Entries list. Then press the End key. Slop stroke is at the end of the list. When the steno...
Or you can just hit what?
S.
S. Till you get, hey, we're yelling. Just hit S until you get to slop, okay?
To open the Special Entries list, then press the End key. Slop stroke is at the end of the list. When the steno entry dialog opens, use your computer keyboard to type the letters of the steno that you were trying to write. In other words, the steno that belongs to your master stroke, and press Enter or OK. This will go in my main dictionary. When I pick conflict choice 1 here, if this is a new context rule that Eclipse did not know before, it will be added to the artificial intelligence for the conflict entry that is my master entry.
So it's just for artificial intelligence
That's
purposes.
it. That's it.
Otherwise, just define it as number.
Yeah.
See, and my second
You're
question.
gonna set it up as your conflict, okay?
Yeah, but I thought we were supposed to write conflict free. That's another thing. I thought we were supposed to not have conflicts.
No, that's not a conflict, because you're doing it with a number. So all it's telling it is just to do a command when you write it with something else. It's not really a conflict.
Oh, I thought that. 'cause
So
I
there's,
thought the way
I mean, I guess you could, if you really want to work that much harder, you really could. And the way that you set it up is instead of doing NUBS, and you could do NUBS as numbers, NUMBERS, and NUBS asterisk, and then that would tell it automatically capitalize that word, then you don't have to remember any of this. None of it. You see what I'm saying?
I guess.
You understand what I'm saying? If you
Okay.
want to write completely conflict free, that's how you would do it. You do NUBS, and that would automatically come up as numbers,
First off.
right like that. Okay? And you do NUBS with an asterisk. That would completely change it. And then it would automatically tell it to do capital
You know, the second.
NOS. Like say it's saying number 12.
But for that purpose that he's talking about, it's just strictly for our artificial intelligence
Yeah.
to count it. That's it.
And it's already going to know because you're setting up as a conflict. So artificial intelligence, the more you use it, the more it's going to know this is what they do. And whenever it's done with a number, it's automatically going to cap it with a number. Okay? Don't make it harder than it needs to be. I mean, it'll be fun.
So slop strokes point to your master entry. Slop stroke entries are primarily designed to help conflict resolution, but they can also help with speakers. So you might have one speaker entry and a large number of slop stroke entries. So if you changed the text for the master entry, you would not have to change any of the slop stroke entries.
You see what it's telling you? That's why that slop stroke is good. Because look how many different ways you can mess up court reporter as a speaker. Okay? Guys, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 letters in that stroke. Okay? So all you have to do is add or delete one letter. You know how many times you can do that? I'm no math specialist, but it has to be hundreds of ways that you can do it. And when you're stroking the court, and how many different times and how many different ways that you can leave one letter out, one letter each time, one letter on each hand, that's thousands of times, literally, probably thousands of different ways that you can do the court by leaving out one letter. So that's why that slop stroke is good. You understand that? Yes? Any questions about that? Slop strokes. Here they're talking about punctuation. We've already done that. You just know that it needs to be in the bracket. If it's not in your dictionary already, then that's how you need to define it, in the bracket. Okay? Bracket, comma, bracket, bracket, question mark, bracket, bracket, period, bracket. You know, that's all you have to do. Or you can go into the special entries, and I think there's something for punctuation in there too, or whatever. So. And here's what you were asking, Slick, about different things that you can use. When it's calling just for a Bates number, or Bates number 643712, okay? So that's how you set it up when you know that it's with a number. So it's gonna set it up like this. It doesn't need to be set up like this when it's with a number. So a lot of times, and you'll see, like even in my thing, when we set it up on the exhibit, it states exhibit N, capital N-O period 1. It's not N-U-M-B-E-R, okay? Got it? Okay. So that's how you set it up a lot of times when you're using a certain number. So these little things tell you what you want it set up in, okay? Now this is going to be a numeral, that's quantity, and that's Roman numeral. So if you want it set up in Roman numeral, that's how you would do it.
What's quantity? Like, what's the difference between quantity and number?
No. Okay. Quantity is going to set it up as hundreds, thousands, millions, so it's going to have the commas in there. Okay? The Bates number is just going to have the number. So when it says numeral, all it's going to put is just the number. So whatever number you put, that's what number it's going to put. So if it was Bates number 1,234,567, they usually don't say it like that, because that's not a Bates number. A Bates number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? But when they're talking about quantity, now you've put it in that. So it just puts the commas in there. Okay? So now you have 1,234,567. So be real careful what you put in there and what you want it to come out as. Okay? Ace, you listen? What did I say?
Yes. Quantity is 100s, 1,000s, 1,000,000s, and if you wanted it in numerals, if they say 1,000 or 1,200,500, people don't say it that way. So
So what would you put it as?
well, if they said it that way, you leave it in numerals, no?
If they say it how?
Oh, it'd be quantity. Because if they're saying 1,200,000.
Yeah, that's quantity. But if they say it's Bates number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Okay.
that's numerals,
Okay.
just straight numeral, okay? So be careful how you do it. Roman numeral is gonna come out like this. Regardless of what number you put, it's gonna know how to put it on there. You don't have to put X, X, I. I don't even know what that is, 23? Is it 23? Yeah. So, all you have to do is put that. So if you wanted to come up in Roman numerals, then that's how you would do it. Capital R, capital Q for quantity, capital N for numeral. Okay?
What are we stroking and it'll turn it into? So if someone, like, can you give me an example? If someone gave me Roman numeral and what computer mechanics do?
If they say, volume number. Could be. Yes.
I don't know if this is accurate, I was confused, because I got points off on the test. It was count 1 and count 2 and count 3, and they say it's supposed to be Roman numerals, like count I, count count.
I don't know that I would have, if it cost you the test,
It didn't, it counted more points off, but I still managed to pass, but I didn't I guess I just didn't know.
yeah. I
So
mean,
if
that's
you hold
something
that line-
you have to sit in court to kind of know. So I mean, you know, if you don't know that, then, you know, you got the gist of it.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember ever learning that in the grammar class.
I don't know that I would have
was
taken
something
off.
that-
I'd have put it on there. Hey, this is the way it's set up. Count I, count I, count I, whatever. But I wouldn't have counted it as a stroke. You had the
I had
right
1,
thing.
2, and 3.
Now, if you had count 4 and it was count 1, yeah. But it's not. You know, if you set it up, you know, the setup is a little bit different. So, I mean, unless you really know and you sat in court,
Is that how
or
they
you're
do it
just,
in
you
court
were a
with the
paralegal
Roman-
before you came to court reporting school,
So you
yeah.
use the Roman numerals?
yeah, it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's bad if you do it the other way. They're gonna kind of know what you meant, but that's, if you're doing it the proper way, that's the way that it's set up.
For counts, count 1?
Like in count 1.
In count 1 of the indictment,